Welcome back to How to Be a Better DM, the official podcast of Monsters.rent. I'm Justin Lewis,
And I'm Tanner Weyland.
and we are here to help you tell better stories for yourself and your players as you dungeon master sessions of D&D, Dungeons & Dragons. We'd like to give you some quick announcements. We actually have one before the show, and then after the show, if you want to stick around, we have some more announcements then as well. But first, let's talk about this. Tired of being alone? Are you tired of not having any of your players understand you? Are you tired of never truly belonging? Well, you're in luck. All you need to do is join the Guild. The Guild is a unique and exclusive experience that is only open to Dungeon Masters. It is a full community focused on helping ease your DMing burdens. Want to meet other DMs? Join the Guild. Want to discuss your homebrew ideas with people who would appreciate it instead of just telling your cat? Join the Guild. Want to find a place where all your wildest dreams will come true? Join the Guild. Go to monsters.rent/guild and sign up today for free. Wait, that can't be right. Chuck, can you check this again? Is this supposed to be... What? Oh, they're serious? It's free? Oh, okay. All right. Yes, go to monsters.rent/guild and sign up today for free, even though they are crazy for giving this away for free. Common side effects may include burping, sneezing, laughing, breathing, hearing, listening, tasting, farting, critting, sarcasm, and in extreme cases, explosive diarrhea. Awesome. With that out of the way, we can get into today's show. Welcome back to How to Be a Better DM, the official podcast of Monsters.rent. I'm Justin Lewis here with my friend, Tanner Weyland.
Hi. That's all I got. Sorry. Yeah, good to see you all.
Totally fine.
Great to be here.
Tanner and I are in rare form today. We just recorded another episode, which went a little bit long. So we're going to kind of do this fast mode. We're going to do a speed run, but which probably means we'll just go the normal length because I'm a little bit.
That's how it always goes, is we're like, oh, let's be fast. Okay, 20 minutes later.
Exactly. Without further ado, though, let's jump in. Actually, first, a quick mention. Follow us on Instagram at HowToBeBetterDM and at Monsters.rent. Now let's jump in. Today, we're going to talk about the flip side of one of our episodes last month, which was how to add tragedy to your game. Today, we're talking about how to add comedy to your game. And in the Shakespearean definition of the word, comedy just means a happy ending, right? Everyone, like Tanner said last time, everyone gets married, essentially. In this episode, we're going to talk specifically about making people smile, laugh, or giggle, kind of that sort of comedy, the comedy that we're more familiar with today. Not necessarily just a happy ending, because obviously everyone wants a happy ending, but more of how to add comical moments or silly moments or, hee-haws and guffaws and laughs to your game.
Yeah, and it's so important because I think, being a DM and playing D&D is so much of it is about fun, and it's hard to separate fun from funny, right? In terms of just practicality, right? Because you're having more fun if you think things are funny, and if you're able to joke with each other and riff, and that's sometimes there's not always a place for that in every part of the game, right? Because like we mentioned last time, if you don't have tragic moments or more serious moments, then the game kind of loses some of its weight. But honestly, I would argue that that if you have 5 times the amount of comedy to tragedy, then you're in a pretty good place because people are happy to come. They feel like they're in a very friendly environment, and but there's also some issues, right? Like sometimes people don't feel like, maybe things are too straightforward, or you feel like there's not enough room for growth, or not growth, room for like silliness, where people are like, oh, everyone wants to just get through the encounter. They don't want to hear me make a joke about like, oh, I hit this guy in the knee, or trip him up, because everyone wants to know if the mechanics are right for that and everything like that, right? People get over serious is my main point. And I think that you can get around that by just, as the DM, putting your best, silly foot forward and being like, hey, not everything needs to be super serious,
Absolutely. You definitely need to know the tenor of the table, and maybe that's the wrong phrase. Understand what people want and when. And if you listen to your characters, you'll get a good sense of when they're willing to be silly or when they're willing to be serious. My rule of thumb is when it's a specific plot point, it's probably going to be serious, probably. And when I say specific plot point, I mean like if something happens one way or the other, the campaign has major consequences, right? Different differences in trajectory. But if it's not so uh, serious, obviously, in terms of consequences, definitely feel free and add in some comical elements. Also, if it is serious, there's nothing wrong with sort of taking breaks in between the seriousness, right? So if they're in, a starship and they have to find their way off before everyone knows they're there, uh, you can take a small moment to be like, yeah, you open up a door and you find a stormtrooper sitting on the toilet, right? You obviously
Yeah.
close that and then you get back to work, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But when you get to the final boss scene and you're fighting the Dark Lord in his capital ship, you may or may not want comical elements unless your party trades in comical elements on a day-to-day basis, right? If they fight that way, then that's how you need to play. So definitely listen to your party.
Yeah, and speaking about party, I think as a DM, you can certainly build in moments that you think will be kind of funny, like challenges specifically. If you throw in like a puzzle or a skill check that's just kind of silly in general, right? Like people trying to work through, like sneakily through a factory filled with a bunch of breakable statues. And then, something falls over, then it's like you kind of like there are ways that you can turn like a skill check or something else kind of into a potentially comedic situation, right? But I think the best way that you can actually add it into your campaign is just paying really close attention to what your players want to do. So sometimes players want to do something that in real life you just couldn't do. And I'm not talking magic. I'm saying like no, it just doesn't make sense. And there's a couple options you could go with that. You could be the DM who's like, no, that doesn't make sense. Try again. Or you actually do it, but it goes how it should go, which is terribly. And that's hilarious, where essentially you don't always have to shut down your players if they're just doing something stupid or something that wasn't that well thought out. It's like, no, let them do it and then play it up. Don't turn their mistake into something that's just like, oh, take 10 steps back, but instead be like, oh man, let's accentuate how funny this is and how terribly it goes. And you can do that a lot with your tone and how you act. And you're like, okay, roll that die, and then explain and be like, so you wanted to do this. This is what actually happened. Uh, I think that you really want to just embrace what your players are kind of and the opportunities they give you, right? Both in terms of their mistakes, but also sometimes they're being a little bit silly in a conversation, and you can tell that. Instead of like letting your characters over seriousness pull them back to being serious, give into that like more often than not, and like kind of let the conversation tend in a sillier direction. A lot of it is just adding silliness to the game isn't so much you being super funny, but it's more about not shutting down the natural funniness and the silliness that comes with just playing with a bunch of people, right?
That's probably the best tip that we can give is that if you want comedy in your game, realize that you don't have to be the comical person, right? You can just let your players be the funny ones, right? They'll do funny things. They'll do things like Tanner said that are nonsensical. And every so often, you can do things that are somewhat similar or you think that would make them laugh, but you don't
Yeah.
actually have to be the comical one. Just let your players be the funny ones. Everyone will laugh and, uh, life will go on.
Yeah. And kind of going along with that, if you make a mistake, and let's say you're like, oh, this is going to be so difficult. And then the player comes up with a really overly simplistic solution that totally works, then laugh at yourself. Be like, okay, so I plan on this. Well, I guess this is done. okay, what now? They're like, that's also a funny situation. And if you open up and kind of let yourself be a little bit vulnerable there, it can be hilarious for your players too. And, I think th- in terms of adding silliness, lightheartedness is the key to it all, right? Don't don't try and ridicule players to an extreme extent. You can kind of poke fun at like what they chose to do, but don't just like if you can tell it's bothering them, move on. You know, or make it so that you're more laughing at the situation rather than them, because you don't want to start making fun of people that way in a way that they get really hurt by. But I think that you can absolutely add it to every session that you do, and it's only going to make it so that players are excited to come back week after week.
Yeah. And going off of something I heard from Writing Excuses, which is Brandon Sanderson's writing podcast, or at least it was. I don't know if he still does it, but they say for comedy, you take something normal and add something unexpected. So, example, my stormtrooper pooping on the toilet, right? The party is running, trying to find a place to hide. They open the door. Stormtroopers basically in full armor sitting on the toilet, right? That's normal because that's what people do, but it's also unexpected because you're like, this is a Star Destroyer. Why is it, they're not supposed to have bathrooms in the Galactic Empire, of the Sith. Another example, yesterday, my wife and I were kind of joking around, like, what if you don't tip the Door Dasher, like who's bringing you your food? And I was like, yeah, he just brings out like a giant bean, like a bean like the size of a bowling ball and just gives it to you. That's what he gives it to you. And it's normal because it's food, but it's also like it's just a big bean, you know, like it's weird. So kind of stuff like that. She got a kick out of it, but uh stuff like that where you take something slightly normal and you make it unexpected in some way that sort of breaks people's state and makes them put their head up and pay attention. But also when they think about it, they're like, that's why? Like what? And
Yeah.
it's easier said than done, obviously, but that's sort of a small framework that you can work off of.
Yeah, and a lot of times funniness, and silliness is just about contrast, like you were saying, right? It's like, "Oh, that's odd." Right? Like, it's finding something that, like, oh, maybe works, but it's a little bit off kilter. Like, oh, there's 3 pigs that you could win at the fair. Wha 2 of them are, like, pork chop, and then another one bacon, then the 3rd one's, like, Guillermo, right? It's like, it's about that incongruity, and you can play with that a whole lot of ways where it's like, okay, maybe they're in a serious conversation with an NPC who's all business, and then suddenly they mention the weather and he gets really weirdly specific, right? He's like, no, please. The 9-day forecast says this. How dare you? Like it's just adding a little bit of weirdness within like a bunch of normalness. And sometimes that's the most funny situation there is, right? Uh, but yeah, I would say that, something to avoid though when trying to be funny is trying too hard. Um, because I've been guilty of this in my life. I've had multiple people being, "Man, you're really funny when you're not trying." And
Thanks.
and through my tears, I'm like, "Thank you." Uh, and I think that that's kind of the key where it's like, hey, if a joke doesn't land or something that you thought was going to be silly that no one really paid attention, that's okay. Don't let it, trip you up at all. Just keep going. And once again, don't take it too personally if something you planned to be funny wasn't. Uh, More be excited when you're able to accentuate the funniness that a player is trying to get going, right? Or just create it out of what they're doing. That's oftentimes a lot more funny, and you're going to enjoy yourself a lot more that way because you have less expectations built up, right?
Definitely don't try to be funny. Just do things that you think would be funny. And if you can make yourself laugh, then that's a win. And it's very likely that other people will laugh. Sometimes they won't, but that's probably the third tip that I would give. Do things that would make you laugh, not do things to be funny, but do things that you think are funny, right? And there's a
Yeah.
very fine line there. One is you're trying way too hard. The other is, this is great. Do you understand the difference?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so I think, we said we'd keep it short, and we will, because frankly, it's a simple topic. But, you know, uh, I guess my last thought, before I pass back to Justin, is, don't fight the funny, if you don't have to, right? If it's a really serious moment, then it's okay to do it then. But for most of the campaign, don't let mechanics or you thinking that something's ridiculous, like, become like a negative, right? Let them
Mhm.
accentuate things and actually make it funnier. Kind of like, it's like letting the stream flow, remove the blockages rather than try to redirect it, if that makes
I
sense.
love that. That honestly, we should make that into a T-shirt, Tanner. Don't fight the funny, because that is, I love that saying so much. So here's my last, um, my last thought. Why are impatient people always so skinny?
I don't know why.
It's because they can't stand the weight. Uh, that was a small joke for
It's
you, but
so dumb.
yeah. See,
That's
so
so dumb. I love it.
don't overthink it. Just do things that have fun, and if you do need to, you can go look up jokes online, right? If that's what you really need to do, but I wouldn't resort to that. Uh, just my top 3 tips: let your players do the funny. Don't fight the funny, as Tanner said. Add normal to unexpected, and then lastly, do things that make you laugh, and you should be just fine. This has been How to Be a Better DM. We're so very grateful for you listening to us again in this new year, and we wish you the best roles for you and the worst roles for your players. I'm just kidding. But seriously, natural 20s for everyone. We'll be back next week for another great episode. Until then, let's roll initiative. Thank you for listening to today's show. We really appreciate your support and your patronage. We have a few more announcements to go over. First,
Did you ever fall in love with the library as a kid? It was a place where you could experience 1,000 stories without having to buy 1,000 books. That is what Monsters.rent can do for your D&D campaign. You can rent and swap out as many quality miniature monsters and creatures for your D&D party as you could ever want, without having to buy them. You can rescue villagers from a kobold camp, or lead your party through the fighting forest, or many more adventures. We're coming out with new bundles all the time. Just sign up for our subscription to get access to your own personal library of minis. Go to monsters.rent to find out more. That's the website. Monsters, with an S, .rent. Get your library pass to a world of minis today.
we also wanted to let you know that today's episode is sponsored by Stardust and Dragons. I'm going to let one of the cast of Stardust and Dragons, Christian Hatcher, and his crew tell you a little bit more about it.
This August, a new adventure podcast is coming to a platform near you, filled with action,
You one of the 2 of them. We can't keep taking hits like that.
drama,
Everything that she's been doing, everything she's going to do, finally sets in.
and stardust.
Help! Help! Someone, please!
Find out more about this epic odyssey at stardustanddragons.com, where adventure awaits in the stars.
That's all the announcements we have today. Again, thank you so much for everything you do for us. You make this show possible. Like we said before, we'll be back next week with another great episode, and until then, let's go ahead and roll initiative.